Good day, everyone. My name is Rumbidzo Carol Sitole, and today I'll be presenting questions 4 and 7 for the Stochastic Calculus for Financial Economics CBT. So let's go to our question. So we'll start with question 4, then we'll move on to question 7. So question 4 tells us that we are given a put on call option. So the continuous risk-free rate is 7%. The stock pays a dividend of 2%. The strike price of the underlying option is 49. The strike price of the compound option is 4. The compound option expires in 1 year. And the underlying option expires 1 year after the compound. And the underlying call option is American. The volatility is 20%. So we're told that the stock price, the current stock price is 51. The stock price follows a binomial model with 24 periods, each of a length of 1 month. And the question is asking us to calculate the price of the compound option. So let's move on to our Excel question number 4. So normally with these questions, it's better to write down all the information that you are given and also write down all the information that you think you will need. So firstly, we're told our strike price. I wrote down everything that we were given. So the current stock price is 51. The risk-free rate is 0.7%, and the volatility is 20%. The stock pays a dividend of 2%. Here is our symbol, and our T is 24, and our small t is 12. And then the strike price of the underlying option is 49, and the strike price of the compound option is 4. So the question wants us to calculate the compound for the put on call. We're given the put on call, and we are asked to calculate the price of the compound option. So we will come to our Excel. So I've indicated the information that we're given, which is here from B2 to B9. And also because we're calculating a binomial tree, we'll need our H, which is 1/12. We'll need our U. To calculate our U, we'll need our R minus our delta multiplied by our H plus our sigma multiplied by the root of H. So I've put here the formulas that we use for the calculating these things. And D, here's the formula, R minus delta multiplied by H minus sigma root of H. And to calculate our P, also here's our formula. We use R, the dividend, and multiplied by H, we subtract D divided by U minus D, which is the formula is here. And then calculating Q is simple. It's equal to 1 minus P. So we'll first start our periods. We're told that it's 24 periods. So our periods here will end at 24 here. So to calculate this binomial tree, we'll start with the stock. So our current stock price is 51 we're given. To calculate the following one, and we know when we're calculating a binomial, we start with our current stock, and then the next year it will be SU for the top, for up, and for down, it's the stock minus down. When we move on to the second year, it's the stock multiplied by the U multiplied by the U, which is SUU, and the bottom one will be SUD. Then when we follow the third year, it becomes SUUU, and then the down one will be SUUD, the other one will be SUDD, and so on and so on. So when calculating our tree, we could go all the way up like as a tree, it spreads. But then I just did half of it because that's what we mainly need to calculate, like the price. So we use the if effect. So if cell 18 is blank, it will blank. If it's not blank, if it's not blank, we'll multiply it by our D, our U, and then we move on to multiply it by our D. We'll be multiplying our B18, which is this one, the current stock price. And then if it's empty, you just leave it blank, which is this top one, because it's S, U, and SD. Since this part is empty, we just leave it blank. If this one is not empty, we calculate it by saying, so this one will be our SD, which is this one, which will be B18, the stock price, multiplied by our D, which is this one. So we want this effect to work throughout. So if you want it to work throughout, you just drag it to the end, yeah, 24, and then it will calculate throughout. Same apply as we go down. You just come here, you double click, come here, you double click, come here, you double click on this. Make sure that you have this plus sign. You come here, you double click till you get to 24, right? And these stock prices are the ones that we're going to use to calculate our core price, right? So for this first call, we're going to do for the underlying compound option, the underlying option. But the question wants us to calculate the compound. So for this one, we start with the end going the other way. So you come here at the end, because it's the maximum, we won't have an if effect. So we'll want the maximum of Z18. Z18 is our stock here at period 24, multiplied by the strike price of the underlying option. The underlying option strike price is 49. So you click enter, and then you click here, apply sign is gonna come, you double click, it will calculate for all the periods on 24, on 24. It will calculate for all the periods on 24. And then we now move here, coming this other side, because we're working backwards. Here we'll need an if effect. So if a cell is blank so that it doesn't calculate, we just get the ones that are feasible. So you will see here, if Z46, this one is blank, it will leave it blank. But if not, we'll get the maximum, which multiplies B3 is our R, and our B10 is our P, and our B10 is our H, and it will continue here to multiply our P multiplied by Z45, and this one is our Q, and the maximum of the period 23, because now we are looking at period 23, minus the strike price of the underlying option. So after this, you click enter, and it will calculate for you. So you can just click the plus sign to calculate for all your values. Since you put in the if effect, it will calculate the binomial tree for you, and where there is nothing, it will leave it blank. And then since we're calculating it backwards, we want to get our call price. You calculate it to the end here, like this, and it will calculate for you respectively. Then you come back here, you start double clicking here for it to calculate the periods going down. Here the same, you click the plus, it calculates the periods going down, as so on. So because we are looking for the compound effect, the compound option, here our question tells us that the underlying option expires a year after the compound option. So this is why here we will calculate our compound option. We will have only 12 periods instead, because it's after 1 year. So after 1 year will only be 12 periods. So, and the compound option is valid for just 1 year. So since it's valid for 1 year, our time period, the number of periods that we need to calculate have to be 12. So in calculating this binomial tree, we'll use the same effect. Our B9 here now is different from when we're calculating for call. We are now using the strike price of 4, which is this one, the compound option strike price. So you click enter, just like I explained before. You come here, you double click, it will calculate for all the other cells going down. And then here we'll have an if effect, so that if the cell is blank, it will remain blank. But then if it's not blank, it will do this calculation, which calculates here. So we'll notice that, sorry, I'll be moving back up and down so that you see the figures that we are using. So it will calculate B13, this is our P, this is our Q, and our B3 is our R, and our B10 is our H. It will calculate this for us. So you click enter, and then you double click here so that it calculates for all the periods going down. And then since we're working backwards, again, like we did to calculate our put price, you do it backwards, and it will calculate each cell respectively. And then when you come here, you double tick so that it calculates for all the periods going down. You do the same here, you do the same here, you double click, same here, same here, same here, same here. So if you look at this binomial, if I click the cell, which is empty, it's blank, but there's a formula in effect. This is due to the if. So if this one is blank, it will leave it blank. But if it's not blank, so you see, if D74 is blank, it will leave it blank. If it's not, it will do this calculation for it. And because B74 is blank, this is why our cell is blank, like this. So that's how our binomial tree comes. So the price, this price that we have here will be the price of the put on call, which is 0.544. This is the figure that we are looking for. So now we'll move on to our question number 7. So question number 7 says that Tamara Mellon, a London-based fashion designer, is expecting to receive 100 million yen for a Japanese company as payment for goods sold in 1 year. Concerned about the potential exchange rate fluctuations, the company decides to hedge its risk by purchasing an option that grants them the right to exchange yen for pounds at a rate of 0.055 yen. And you're given the following information. The spot price is this one, 0.055 per yen. The volatility between the two currencies is 0.08. The continuous risk-free for the yen is 0.055. The continuously compounded risk-free interest for pounds is 0.035. So the question requires us to calculate the cost of hedging using a 12-period binomial tree using two distinct approaches, the pound dominated and the yen dominated. So I think with this question, you'd probably maybe have to understand the scenario so that you know, because if we're going to calculate the pound denominated, you need to understand, is it a put or call? If we're going to calculate the yen denominated, you need to understand, is it a put or a call? So this company, Tamara Melon, is going to receive yen. So if we're going to calculate the pound dominated, the pound dominated is going to be a put because Tamara has the yen and she wants the pound. This hedging allows her to exchange the yen that she's, the 100 million yen that she's going to receive at this rate. So if she's looking at the pound dominated, it's the put because she is going to give, would say put, or she's going to put 100 million, or she's going to give them 100 million yen so that she receives the pound. If we're looking at the yen dominated, it's going to be a call because she is going to receive this money as payment for what? For goods. I hope it's making sense in terms of exchange rate. She's receiving or she's getting 100 million. So when we're calculating, because this is going to be important when we're calculating this part, which is which talks about the pound dominated and the yen dominated, because the pound dominated is going to be a put on her side and the yen dominated is going to be a call. So I'll move on to the Excel sheet, question 7, right? So considering the pound dominated put is the first one that we're going to calculate. Also, the other kind of issue with these questions is determining the strike price that you're going to be using and the spot price that you're going to be using because you're being given this as a rate. So for this one, as our S0 is going to be 0.05 because we were told that our spot price here, go back, our spot price exchange rate is 0.05 per yen. So we are looking at the pound. So since we're looking at the pound, we're going to use this one. That's going to be our spot price. And because it gives us the right, our strike price is this one. The option that grants her the strike price that she is bargaining for is this one, 0.055 per yen. So I will come back here. Like I said before, it's easier to write down all the information that you're given. It makes it easy for you to calculate like everything that we need. So firstly, I put down all the information that they gave us. So we're told that the spot price is this one per yen, and the strike price is 0.055 pounds per yen. So this is the strike price. And our risk-free rate for the pound is this one. The risk-free rate for the pound is going to be her domestic because she's in London. Like that's the one that we are calculating for the pound. And then this one, the yen, is going to be the foreign, right? Because she's going to receive the yen from the Japanese company and she's in London. The company is in London. I try to find ways to make these understandable. So I hope it's a bit clear. So, and then we'll move on. Since we're calculating a binomial model, we'll need our H, our U, our D, our P, and our Q. Like in the previous question, here I put in the formulas that I used to calculate this. So our H is 1/12, because this is a 1 month period binomial tree. It's 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month. And to calculate our U, we need our R, our dividends, our H, our sigma, and our H. So click here. These are the figures. Click enter. To calculate our D also, you will need our R, our sigma, our H, and the dividend. So this is the formula that we use. So we come back here. So this is the formula we use, and these are the figures we use. And then to calculate our P also, I've put in the formula that we use using our U, after getting our U and our D. So you plug in the formula, our B3 is R, our B4 is dividend, our H is B7, and our sigma is B9, and our U is B8, and our D is B9, right? So in calculating the exchange here, our number of periods are going to be 12 because we have 12 periods here. So our number of periods here are going to be 12. So after calculating for the 12, you have 12 periods. And then our spot price is B, or the current exchange rate. The current exchange rate is 0.05. So moving on, we're going to use the same thing that we used before, our SUSD. So if a cell is blank, it will leave it blank. If it's not blank, it will calculate that for us. So for this one, it will calculate SU, and you come down, enter. And this is the same formula also to calculate our SUSD. So to get this formula, the if throughout the whole table, you just come here, you drag it to the end, to the 12, because it's a 12 period. Then it will calculate for you throughout. So like I said in that video again, you see that if I click at this blank, all these blank cells, they have a formula to them, but they are blank because we have set the if effect on Excel. So it allows us to leave the cells blank if the cell that is supposed to multiply is blank. So you'll see for this one, these two cells are blank. That's why here it's blank. Right. So you will come here, you double click here, you come here, you double click here, you come here, you double click, so that the formula is in effect throughout the whole table of the 12 periods. You come here, you calculate, you double click till you get to 12, right? And then now we want to calculate the cost of hedging for this put, right? So, sorry, for this one, you would have to start at the end here. We work backwards from 12 to calculate, because this is the figure that we're looking for. So calculate backwards. So you see if it will use a maximum of this, the strike price, which is the one that we were given there, minus our N15, which is this one, the exchange rate at period 12. So it chooses the maximum. If it's negative, it will be 0. So you click here, you double click here so that it calculates all the way down for period 12. Sorry about that. For period 12. And then here, we would have to use the if effect so that if it's blank, it leaves it blank. So if L15 is blank, if L15 is blank, it will leave it blank. But if it's not, if L14 is blank, it will leave it blank. And then if not, it will multiply L14 times B9, which is your D, and L15 multiplied by your B8, which is up. So that is kind of like this price at 10, the exchange at period 10 multiplied by D and multiplied by U for you to get this figure. So we want this to be in effect throughout. So if you want it to be in effect throughout, you will just drag to the end here and reach here. And then you double, sorry. Okay. So if you want it to be in effect, you will drag it all the way to this part. Then it will calculate the figures for you respectively. Oh, okay, sorry, I made an error here. Here it's supposed to be maximum. Go back again. Okay. Here. So if you want it to be in effect, you can drag it all the way to come to the beginning here at the end. Yeah. And it will calculate for you. So to calculate respectively, again, you double click here, you double click here, you double click here. And then the figure that you will get here, since this is going to be the put price, the cost of hedging is going to be the 100,000 multiplied by this. Then this is the figure that you are going to get. And then we will move on to the call. So considering the yen call, now it's going to be the same as what we did before, but then our spot price is going to be 1 over B2, and our strike price is going to be 1 over B6. And then everything else we will do the same, just like I explained before here. So you take your spot price, you use the if effect, you push it to the end, and we use the 12 periods again. And then the cost of hedging is still gonna be the same. You multiply it by 100,000 and you will get this figure. Now we want to go to the last part. The last part is asking us to calculate the price of the option by considering a Monte Carlo simulation of 100,000 iterations by using Microsoft Excel. For this task, assume the Berkshire's framework is applied to the current exchange. Okay, so for this one, I have to go back here. Yeah. So we'll still use the given information that we were given, the S0, the spot price, the strike price, our R rate, risk-free interest rate for the pound, and for the yen, our sigma volatility and our time is equal to 1. So here we'll need, because we want to do 100,000 iterations, it's gonna be hard to click 1, 2, and drag it all the way to 100,000. So an effect that I used in calculating this is you click 0 and enter, 0, enter, and you come here to 1, and you will use a special effect on Excel. You have to come to your home page. In your home page, there's a fill button. You click series. After clicking series, you want it to number from 1 200,000, right? So this is 100,000, and you want it to number them in a sequential way on the column row, on the columns, not the rows. If you put the rows, it will count sideways. So since we want it to be downwards, and then you click OK, and then it will do the whole calculation for you, right? And then we'll move on to calculate our U. We want a random number. So we click equals to rand, and you put this effect, and then you click enter. So it will give you random values. So you have to come here and double click here, and it will calculate random values all the way down. And then for the Z-score, you use here the normal inverse to calculate using this value given your Z-score. And then you click enter. Then you double click so that it calculates throughout. So you'll notice that each time you say enter, it will be changing because you put rand. So it gives you any random values throughout for the 10,000 iterations that you're doing. So for the exchange rate, we are going to use this formula. So which is our S40 for our spot price multiplied by the exponential of R minus our R for the pound minus the R for the yen minus 0.5 multiplied by sigma squared multiplied by your T plus your strike price, plus your sigma multiplied by the square root of your T multiplied by this figure, which is your Z-score, which is your Z. Then you click enter. Then to calculate, you double click it so that it does for all the 100,000. And also we'll move on to our payoff. So for our payoff, you do the maximum of your strike price minus of your exchange rate minus your strike price, or 0. So you click enter. If it's less than, it's going to be 0. So you double click, and then it goes all the way down. So it becomes 0 because if it's less than, you will not exercise that strike price. Then the payoff is going to be your average of all from here, F1 to the 10,000 here, N. And then the price of the option is going to be equal to your expected payoff multiplied by the exponential of your negative R multiplied by T. So that is it for question 7.